In order to have a work injury claim, you've got to have an injury at work in Colorado, kind of obvious, but at some point you've got to file a claim for compensation, and a lot of people get this part wrong. They think they've filed a claim for compensation, but they really haven't. And today, I'm going to show you how. Hi everyone, my name is Britton with Kaplan Morrell, and we have been helping injured workers since 1995 get the benefits they deserve in Colorado. We'd love to help you, so please give us a call or contact us by WhatsApp, text message, email. Put all that information here or there. And with that, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about how to file a claim for compensation. This you would think would be somewhat easy, but it's a little difficult. A lot of times we'll ask people, have you filed a claim for compensation? And they'll say, yes, I have. And we'll find out, no, you didn't. Because what they are thinking a claim for compensation is either one of two things. Either A, they filled out some sort of incident report with their employer describing the injury, etc. Or B, they filled out some form that the insurance company gave to them. Neither of those are claims for compensation. So what is a claim for compensation? A claim for compensation is a form that is given by the state of Colorado that you fill out and you send back to the state of Colorado through the Division of Workers' Compensation. That is a claim for compensation. What's the importance, or what value is it to you to file a claim for compensation? There's two big reasons to file a claim for compensation. Number one is it forces the insurance company to admit or deny that you did in fact sustain a work injury. Now, that's really important because if you get injured on the job, the insurance companies can send you to doctors, can send you to get medical care, they can pay for the medical bills, and they can still deny the claim, or they can still be denying the claim in the future. So payment of medical bills alone does not mean you have an admitted work injury case, okay? So number one, filing a claim for compensation forces the insurance company to admit or deny that you did in fact have a work injury, and if it's denied, now you know, hey, I've got to get my evidence and marshal and get help now, and it's better to find that out earlier rather than later. Okay. The second important reason to file a claim for compensation is that you only have 2 years from the date that you should have known that you had a serious work-related injury. It's a little more complicated than 2 years since the date of injury, but to file a claim for compensation. And if you do not do that, then the insurance company can deny your claim, even though it's completely righteous, even though they admit, hey, it was work injury, yes, we provide medical care, etc., but we aren't going to admit liability now because 2 years went by. So those are the two reasons. Number one, force them to admit or deny. Number two is to stop the 2-year statute of limitations from passing. So how do you file a claim for compensation? Well, as an attorney, I would tell you the best way to file a claim for compensation is to get in touch with us, hire us to be your attorneys, and we'll be happy to fill out the claim for compensation with. The other way to do it is to go and get the claim for compensation and fill it out yourself. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. However, I'm going to tell you that this is a really important piece of paper. It's a document. It can be used against you. And so that's why we really do recommend that you contact us and have us file the claim for compensation for you. There are two ways that the state of Colorado can find out whether or not you had an injury. The first is the employer could let them know. And the second is you can file a claim for compensation. Now, the employer is not obligated, not required by law, to notify the state of Colorado that you've had an injury unless either A, you lost more than 3 days of work due to the injury, B, you sustained some sort of permanent impairment, C, you died as a result of a work injury. So for most people, let's hope it would be they've been injured and they've lost work due to the injury more than 3 days work. Then typically the employer is required to file a first report of injury through their insurance company to the state of Colorado to notify the Division of Workers' Compensation that you sustained an injury. Sometimes, though, the employer will say, well, there wasn't 3 days lost time because I fired them because they were a bad employee, or I fired them because they were negligent, reckless, and getting injured, so therefore they didn't lose 3 days of work due to the injury. And they'll try to get around reporting the injury because they'll say, yes, there was lost time, but it wasn't due to the injury. So when that happens, we typically will say, well, let's file the claim ourselves. So let's talk about how you file a claim for compensation. So the way that you get a claim for compensation is you go to the website and you go to the Division of Work Comp and you say, for injured workers, file a workers' compensation claim. And I will put this URL down in the links to the notes of this episode, okay? Okay, so you go to the Division of Colorado Workers' Compensation site, you go to their section about filing work comp claim, and you can go down here and you click here and you file work comp claim. And that's gonna pull up a PDF that you can download and fill out. So we'll go do that, all right? This was last revised October 2024. So now I'm gonna pull up that form, and here it is, okay? Here's the important thing that you need to know. Anything that you fill out wrong in this form, they're gonna use against you. They will absolutely use against you. So if you say it happened on June 5th at 10 a.m. and oops, you forgot, you didn't clock in until 12 p.m., they're gonna call you a liar and they're gonna say you're wrong and they're gonna use this claim against you. So you need to be very, very sure. All right, so you're gonna do your first name and everything. So I'm gonna do John Jack Smith and Social Security number. Yes, now unfortunately, yes, you do have to use your Social Security number on here because that's one of the ways that they know you are that John Smith and not another John Smith. So gender, male, female, whatever you wanna put. Prefer not to say, but for me, I'm just gonna put male, and then you're gonna put your phone number in. All right, and then I'm gonna put in my address, 34 Elm Street. We'll put Denver, Colorado, and 810. And then I'm gonna put in my mail address, which is jjsmith1989@gmail.com. That's not mine, so please don't everyone just go mail him or her. And then my birthday, again, that's another important piece that's important. Now, what if you don't have a Social Security number? It's important for you to understand that workers' compensation covers you regardless of whether you're lawfully or unlawfully employed. Okay, so if you don't have a Social Security number, what you can do instead is put in here, please assign. They are not going to give you a Social Security number and magico presto, now you've got a Social Security number that you can work under. That's not the way it works, okay? But they will assign a number, an identification number for purposes of your workers' compensation claim if you've been injured on the job without a Social Security number. Marital status, this is really important primarily if you die, because then they know that that there may be a dependent on here. I'll put married and whether or not you have children. Again, the only reason they're asking this is because if you die due to the work injury, then they know that there's somebody there who may have a right to benefits. I'll put down yes. Date of hire, again, that's pretty important, but if you don't remember the time, but you remember it was sometime in 2020, that's fine, okay? Occupation, again, not terribly, you don't have to get too terribly specific on this, and then full-time or not, and then you'll just do very big bad company. And the very big bad company's address or phone number is 722-555-555, and their mailing address, and understand, it's their mailing address, okay? If you've got it. If you don't have it, that's fine. But here I'm going to say they're at 678 56th Avenue in Denver, Colorado. I don't even know if this is a real phone number address or not. So here's where you can put in your average weekly wage. Now, you don't have to put in the average weekly wage, but it's kind of helpful, okay? So understand it's what you made on average before taxes were taken out. So if you're like, well, you know, I made $20 an hour and I work 40 hours a week, so that's 800. I'm going to put 800. If you have another job, you should put that in there too, and then add things up, etc. But I'm just going to put the date of the injury. Again, really important that you put this down correctly. Now, what if your injury is not due to some sort of event, like I was lifting a box and I felt pain, or I was, sitting at my desk working on spreadsheets and a rhinoceros came charging through the office and trampled me. What if the injury is a different kind of thing? Like over time, my arms started hurting because of my keyboard work, or over time, my back started hurting because I just kept lifting heavy weights day after day after day. And it started, but first I thought it would go away, and at first it did, and then it didn't, etc. What you do is you pick the date that you first went to a doctor and said, my arms are killing me, my back is killing me, I think that, and doctor says, I think this is due to work, or this is due to work. You put the date of the injury, okay? That would be the date of injury for something that occurred over time, but there's not one big event that did it. In my case, I'm just gonna say, yes, I was injured May 12th of 2025. This part we usually leave blank, time you began work or not. Again, you want enough details so that they can identify your injury for that employer, but not so many details where you increase the chances are you put something in wrong. Date of injury, time, again, unless you're absolutely positive as to when it happened, I would just leave this blank. Otherwise, I might just put it was in the morning, or it was in the afternoon. You could do it that way. Or you could just put unknown, but I'll say it was sometime in the afternoon. I'm just gonna leave it blank. Okay, last day worked. So if you were off work due to the injury, you'll put that in. If that's not the case, you'll just leave that blank. Date the employer was notified. Again, put this in if you're very sure that you did it. So I may say, yeah, I let my supervisor know on the same day. And in my example, I never lost work, so I'm not putting this down. Now, do you claim to have a permanent disability? For weird reasons, we used to always put yes under this column, simply because it wasn't considered an injury unless there was lost time or a claim for permanent disability. Again, for you to put yes or no, I would just put yes, or I'd put unknown on here. Nobody's going to attack you for saying, well, what's your disability or anything? It's just there. Okay, so what body part was affected? It is important that you put in enough information, but not too much, okay? So, for example, if it's your arm, they say, let us know right arm, left arm. That's important. If it's the lower arm, just say lower arm. You don't have to say lower arm and wrist and fingers and my thumb and my forearm. Lower right arm is fine, okay? Same with leg. My leg is fine. You don't have to say leg and knee and ankle, etc., unless it's really important that they be broken up. But if you can say it's just my knee, I'm fine with you putting just your knee. It's just my ankle, I'm fine with you putting just my ankle. The back, I want you to understand the back is usually 3 different kind of labels: neck, upper back, low back, okay? Hips, etc. But if it's hips, or it could be back, put back, okay? So I'm gonna say hip and right shoulder. Nature of the injury, was it a sprain, a strain, a laceration, a contusion, a fracture? You don't have to fill this out, okay? You can leave this blank, but this part, describe the accident in detail. What were you doing? How the accident occurred, the object that harmed you. Here's where I'm gonna say, I was at my desk working and a lion attacked me, okay? That's all you need to say. You don't need to go about how the employer was negligent, how you were super careful, how other coworkers were negligent, or how the lion got there or didn't get there, or whatever. All you need to do is just give enough of a detail so they have a good idea how you got injured, okay? But not so much detail that the insurance company pokes through it and picks at one little detail that you may have guessed at, but now you're a liar, as opposed to you just remembered wrong or guessed wrong. So I always recommend that you keep it there. Now, in terms of body parts affected, I want you to understand this. I put down hip and right shoulder. If I later say, no, it was my low back, they may say, but that's not what you wrote down. If I say it's also my knee, they may come back and say, that's not what you wrote down. So it's important that you at least put the general area part covered. Now, obviously, you can't put down my whole body. Okay, that's useless, okay? If you say my back, then that's enough for me to later argue on behalf of my client, well, the neck is part of the back, or the upper back versus the lower back. He's back, and what he meant was his low back, or meant his low back and his thoracic back. It gives, it's general enough that you're not locked into a specific body part, but it's specific enough that they can't say, well, your back must not have been involved, because even you didn't list it, okay? So just be very careful on what parts. Where did the injury occur? And I'm going to just use the same address as the injury, but sometimes I've got clients who, they work somewhere else, like landscapers, right? They go all over the city, work at other people's houses. So again, it's important that you know the address that you got injured at, if it's different from your employer. To whom it was reported, again, they're going to want to know who you reported the injury to. It's important that it's correct. Now, if you don't know the person's name, you can say my supervisor, etc. Just put down who you reported to. I am going to tell you, always report this in writing, give a text message or something. I cannot tell you how often I get folks who contact me saying, I told my supervisor about it, and now the supervisor is being contacted by his or her boss and saying, hey, this person said they got injured and they told you, why didn't you tell us? Oh no, they never did. Okay, so just please put it in writing. But here I'm going to say that I told my supervisor, Lucy Van Pelt, who it was. Okay, now for witnesses and phone numbers, I really don't recommend that you put this in unless you are absolutely sure, A, they were a witness, and B, absolutely sure that they're going to support you, okay? And then initial treatment. It's really important that by the time you filled out this report, you've gone somewhere for clinic, So it could be a clinic, it could be an emergency room, etc. You want to make sure that when you fill this out, you've had some form of medical care, even if it's you just went to a chiropractor on your own. Okay, do you claim to have a scar or a disfigurement? At this point, I may say yes because a lion bit me, so I'm going to say yes here. And then what's the name of the treating doctor? And I'm going to say I went to the Good Medicine Clinic, and they are located at 364 Downing in Denver, Colorado. Okay. If there's asbestos, repetitive, everything, I would still leave this blank. Okay. I don't go into this, etc. And that's it. You type in your name, okay, and the date completed, and I'm just going to put in, I did it on this month, this date, and I'm going to print this off, and then I'm going to email it to the Division of Workers' Compensation, and I'm going to put in claim for compensation, John Jack Smith, date of injury, and I'm going to put in the date of injury that I put down here, which was May 12, 2025, and I'm going to print this off. I'm going to do page 1 of 1. I'm going to save it as a PDF, which of course works for me. Your tech may be different. Pop this in, and I'm going to hit send. That's how you file a claim for compensation. Now, what happens after you file a claim for compensation is the Division of Workers' Compensation is going to take your claim, and they're going to look up the employer, see who their insurance company is, and then they're going to send you a letter that's called an APP1 letter. All that letter does is you'll get a copy of it, your employer's going to get a copy of it, your insurance company for workers' compensation is going to get a copy of it, and they're going to say, hey, Jack Smith has said he filed an injury, here it is, please, you've got 20 days from the date of this letter to admit or deny. And then you are on your way from being in legal limbo to having a claim for compensation where you're going to know in 20 days from that letter whether it's been admitted or denied. Important thing though is this is complicated, and an attorney can help you do it correctly so you don't feel like you are wandering around in a maze. So if you've been injured on the job, please give us a call. We would love to help you. And with that, thank you so much for being with me.